is brought to you by Sea-Doo Personal Watercraft. Here comes the fun with Sea-Doo. And Mountain Dew. Do the do.
Stanford running back Christian McCaffrey finished second in Heisman voting this past college football season, but he believes his athleticism isn't fully appreciated because of his race. McCaffrey had this to say to Sports Illustrated, quote, "When you read about white athletes these days and white skill possession receivers specifically, one word you'll always find is tough. You'll rarely see explosive, athletic, stuff like that. You get a little bit upset. I ran the same 40 as this guy and you're calling him those things. People do the eye test and underestimate me, so I do play with a chip on my shoulder." Stephen A., does McCaffrey have a point?
He's absolutely right. If he were if he were black, we definitely would be talking about him in a different context. This kid and what he brings to the table on the football field is undeniable. Over 3,800 all-purpose yards. What did he rush for, Skip, last year? 2,019 yards, 337 carries, averaged 6 yards a carry. He was absolutely sensational, definitely worthy of being up there for the Heisman Trophy in the final tally. There's no question about it. His athleticism, his skill set to run the football, he's quick, he's fast. He's got a vision as a runner. He's incredibly gifted. He deserves a lot of credit for the job that he does. There is no doubt about that. And I've seen plenty of brothers running behind him and couldn't catch him. If he were black, he would get talked about differently. He makes a very valid point. There's no reason for anybody to be up in arms for what he's saying because it is absolutely true what he is saying. There's a flip side, though. My response to Christian McCaffrey would be this: welcome to our world, my brother. Because there's a whole bunch of black folks that feel exactly the same way, albeit about different positions, even in different professions. Every day we wake up as black people, particularly black men, we find ourselves looking at situations and saying, if we were white, it would be different. If we were white, we'd be celebrated in this fashion. If we were white, this wouldn't be said about us. You know, I mean, this is the way it is. And so, I mean, you know, they call, I give you a perfect example, Skip, they call me Screaming A. I'm quite sure you've heard white folks on the air sounding very, very loud. They have passion. But I'm Screaming A. Like you understand? So, I'm out of control. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we know what time it is. So, again, Christian McCaffrey is absolutely right in everything that he says. There is nothing for anybody to be angry about. There is nothing for anybody to be offended about. He is right on the money. He would be looked upon differently if he were black. What I would say to him, however, is welcome to the world of a lot of black folks out here, because they can tell you the same exact thing. Welcome to our world.
Okay. I got you. Great point on your part. Now, let's examine the chip on his shoulder. Is that stereotype of sort of unstereotyping him, if you will, as a running back, like saying, you can't do that because you're white, you can't be a great running back because you're white. Is that racial? Or let me throw this out. Is it statistical? I mean, I just look at what's happened lately in the National Football League. There are white starting running backs who are fullbacks who block way more than they carry the ball. They carry it on an occasional 3rd and 1. But can you show me in the NFL another white starting ball-carrying running back who is the workload back of a team? You know, once upon a time we had a Mike Allstott hammering between the tackles for the Tampa Bay Bucks. But other than that, we had the Peyton Hillis year when he made the cover of Madden, but he was a one-year wonder for the Cleveland Browns. Toby Gerhart out of Stanford also got drafted and looked like he might be a starter for a while in Minnesota. Then he fell out of favor. He got cut. He got cut by Jacksonville, and I think Toby Gerhart's still on the street. He's still a free agent. So can you show me one where a team has a starting white ball-carrying, you know, high-volume ball-carrying running back?
No.
There isn't one. So is it not true? I'm trying to be objective here. Is it not true that Christian McCaffrey is very much the exception to the rule?
Well, yes, he is, but that's not his point. I understand that his words can be construed in the manner in which you're interpreting it, but that's not his point. What he's saying is that he is the rarity. But because of what we've grown accustomed to believing about a white running back, he's a victim of that. That's what he's saying. So when you make a point about people other than Christian McCaffrey, I get where you're coming from, but he is talking specifically really about himself and what he's suffering from, and he's accurate about that.
Okay, but it's not the fans' fault that he's being unfairly stereotyped. It's what's come before him, that no one has set a precedence. It's not because...
But did he say that?
Yeah,
did he say it was the fans' fault?
I don't know. Now we're interpreting. Now we're trying to read between his lines.
He said people do the eye test. He said people do the eye test and underestimate him. Well, the people he's talking about are NFL people, because no matter what the fans think, they're going to listen to NFL folks when they evaluate and dissect and really analyze who you are and what you bring to the table. Because everybody doesn't get to watch Stanford all the time. You might have seen them, but you don't watch them religiously.
Okay, so let's quickly look at what Christian McCaffrey is. He is a 6'1", 201-pound, extremely athletic, extremely fast white running back with game-breaking, make-you-miss athletic ability, quickness as well as breakaway speed. This is a rarity. And yet, look where he came from, Stephen A. You know his father, Ed. You know of him, right?
That's right.
He was a very good wide receiver on the pro level, made a Pro Bowl, won 3 Super Bowls, Denver, San Francisco. His mom, Lisa, was a soccer star in high school, went on to Stanford and played college soccer there and was very good. Her father, back in Miami, where she's from, was won the silver medal in the 60 Olympics, the 1960 Olympics, in the 100-meter dash. Her father won the silver medal in the 100. That's not that long ago, and he's a white guy, obviously. So there are some bloodlines there that have created an exception to the rule, right?
Well, it's an exception to the rule, fair enough. But he has every right to point out that he's the exception and he's being ignored.
I agree.
That's
I don't know
the whole
he's being
point.
Ignored, but...
Well, he feels that way.
Yeah.
He feels that way. And what I'm saying is that what we need to do is stand up here and listen. Here's the deal. If this were a black athlete that was being minimally recognized for obvious exploits, somebody like myself would speak up about it.
Yes, you would.
Well, I got to do the same. I got to do the same thing for this dude right here. Christian McCaffrey deserves more respect, more recognition than he is receiving.
Okay.
And he's not receiving it because, believe it or not, I can't believe I'm saying it. He is a white guy that is not receiving it because of the color of his skin and the position that he plays.
Okay.
It's a fact.
All right. Now, let's finish it off. Let's look at white receivers in the National Football League. And let's start with the guy you like, Aaron Rodgers' favorite target, Jordy Nelson. Now, he was a second-round pick. He's a stud, man. He is extremely athletic. I think Eric Decker is very athletic as a third-round pick, as a wide receiver. Then you got the smaller versions who are more slot receivers, although Julian Edelman plays outside. Edelman and Amendola, to me, are extremely athletic receivers, extremely quick and elusive receivers. And obviously they added a Chris Hogan who falls somewhat, he's a little bigger than those two, but falls in that Wes Welker category. And then Cole Beasley in Dallas falls, another slot receiver, smaller receiver, but extremely athletic, good hands, very quick, very elusive. Okay, there aren't that many of those either, and I believe that Christian McCaffrey at the next level can also be one of those guys as well as carry the ball. So he's going to be able, he can catch it, man, because his father could certainly catch it.
He can catch it. He can catch it. Look, we're raving about Amir Abdullah and what he did in Detroit last year. Christian McCaffrey has some of that ability.
He does.
He shows up. You know, he's playing in the Pac-10, Pac-12. This guy is performing. And the reality is that he deserves more recognition. You know the irony in all of this is, Skip? He's actually being victimized by an overwhelmingly white press.
Yeah.
Because you have a whole bunch of white folks out there that are covering college football. And the lack of appreciation for him he actually he could blame his own for that because I've watched him. I think the kid is special.
Yeah,
and I appreciate his comments because let me tell you something. He's not wrong here. He's absolutely right. And I want to see the person that's going to act or get their back up and stick their chest out acting like they're all offended, like they got a problem with what this kid is saying. The kid is absolutely positively right. And oh, by the way, he's going to he's at Stanford. So obviously, presumably, you got to be very, very smart to go to that institution. So you have an overwhelmingly white press covering a star white athlete who obviously is highly intellectual, presumably since he's going to Stanford. And because they're busy trying to make these guys the second coming of Albert Einstein, they're neglecting to give a higher profile to an absolute stud. And he's essentially calling them out on it without naming names or whatever. But he's absolutely right.
Okay, are you talking about higher profile and Heisman voting or early Heisman hype?
I'm just talking about whether it's NFL folks or whether it's the press applying the pressure to NFL folks to make sure that this kid receives the recognition his talent deserves. His father co-signed on what he had to say. Essentially, from what I read, I believe it.
Yep.
He's right.
Yeah,
he
is right. No, they're right. I agree. Do you think it will hurt his draft stock because he's white?
No.
And be labeled as...
No, I think it might. I think that's what he's saying. He's fearful it may hurt his draft stock, which is why he's kind of speaking up about it.
Maybe.
And that's why I applaud the attention, because what he's saying is, don't stop looking at my pigmentation. Stop looking at the color of my skin. Judge me by the content of my game, okay? That's what he's saying.
Yeah,
and so I like the fact that he's doing that.
I do too.
Because it's going to put pressure on people to do exactly that. He might be an aberration, but he is still legit, it appears. Judge him accordingly.
Okay, so Mel Kiper was down initially on Dallas reaching, quote unquote, or risking taking a running back as high as the 4th pick in the draft, Ezekiel Elliott, who goes, I don't know what he weighs, 230-ish, maybe a little more than that.
Right.
And obviously Christian McCaffrey can't do exactly what Zeke will do for Dallas, which is just pound the rock. But to me, he's a first-round draft choice. I don't know how high in the first round, but he's definitely a big talent.
I believe he's a first-rounder.
Yeah. Very well said, gentlemen. Up next, we showed you guys earlier how Kyle Lowry just kind of ditched the bench during the game. What is going on there? We'll react to that after the break.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.